Okay, starting in three, two, and one. How would you feel if a society rejected you for being you? How would you feel if you didn't get that job for being you? How would you feel if you were treated different for being you? How would it feel if you were abused for being you? Wishing a very good evening. I am Rotaract Ashan Dharmasiri, the Assistant Secretary of the Rotaract Club of Ratnapura. Your moderator for today and the project chairperson of the project, Ekale, the Same Blood. I'm disgusted to be in a ground where a community is being discriminated for having the same blood as you, me, and others. I'm utterly sad that my friend lost his job for being her. I feel miserable that that gay boy got abused for being him. We, the Rotaract Club of Ratnapura, whose grounds are open with love for any and all, irrespective of their class, gender, sexuality, color, and etc., do believe that the lack of knowledge about the LGBTQ community is the major factor contributing to discrimination against the LGBTQ community. Knowledge is power, and knowledge is what changes a person. A changed person is a changed society. To fill this void, hence, we, the Rotaract Club of Ratnapura, in collaboration with the Rotaract Club of Madras, implemented the project Ekale. Ekale, the Sinhala term, when translated to English means the same blood. We, as a club, do stand by the motive of this project to imbibe the society with the fact that we are the same blood, the fight for true equality, and to see an end to discrimination, to aid in building up of a society who isn't afraid to be themselves, and to build upon a society which accepts everyone. Today, we feature four world-renowned celebrities to share their personal experience and their take on the LGBTQ community, who I will be introducing in some time. The participants who stay with us will be awarded with an e-certificate acknowledged by two of our celebrities. Without further ado, let us begin the event with the welcome speech by the President of the Rotaract Club of Ratnapura, Rotarian Rotaractor, Dilanka Sanjay. The screen is yours. I'm sorry, but we are getting so much text from the participants saying that they can't hear you. Rotarian Dilanka Sanjay, can you hear me?
Can you hear me now?
Ah, yeah, sure. Can you do from the beginning if you don't
Yes.
mind?
Sorry, guys. Sorry.
He
Okay.
had he, he had muted the microphone. I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay, thank you, Rotaract. So again, as the president of Rotaract Club of Ratnapura, I am warmly welcome all who are presented at this event today. We have best panelists from today's sessions. So first of all, I am warmly welcome Mr. Arthur Singh. He is CFO of Prabana. Then I am warmly welcome subcommittee member of the Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka and Social Media Activities, Ms. Bhumi Harendran. Then today we have world champion medalist. He is Mr. Leo Kistron. I am warmly welcome Mr. Leo from USA. Finally, Mr. Tushar Tyagi. He is Oscar nominated film director. So I am warmly welcome our panelists for this occasion. I am welcome PDRR Rotarian Rotator past president Kasun Sigera and our new district Rotary representative Rotarian Rotator past president Akila Vijayatunga. I am welcome our guide club coordinator Rotarian past president Kasun Ranatunga. Also, I am warmly welcome our Rotary secretary and our club chair president Rotarian Rotator Paul Harris Ferro Virajit Lakshita. The project ECHAL is done in collaboration with Rotary Club of Madras. I am warmly welcome the president of Rotary Club of Madras, Rotarian Rotaract Rajkumar, the secretary Rotaract Moona, and their entire team to the event. I am also welcome Honorable Councillor General Rotarian PDRR Shivakumar Ishwaran from India. In which I am warmly welcome all the members of our club, all participation, and all the other Rotarators joining with the us from clubs around our district and members. Thank you. Asha, over to you. Ashan, you are muted.
Thank you, Rotarian Rotaract Lanka Sanjay. To address the gathering, I cordially invite this powerhouse district Rotaract representative of the District 3220, Sri Lanka and Maldives, Rotarian Rotaract past president Akila Vijayatunga. The screen is yours.
Thank you very much, Ashan. I hope I'm audible. Yeah, thank you very much. All right, so a very good evening to everyone. First of all, I'm really honored to be a part of this event where we have an esteemed panel of speakers who we have today to address this event. So first of all, I also want to thank the Rotaract Club of Ratnapura for organizing this amazing initiative, because it is a very timely topic. And if you really look at it, this whole topic is not something, I'm sorry, can you hear me? Or
Yeah, sure.
I just...
Yeah, can.
Yeah, all right, okay. Yes, so what I was saying was, the topic that we are going to talk about today is really not something that is, 21st century, millennial or Gen Z thing. It has been a topic, but not in the form of a topic, but just a lifestyle throughout our history. If you look at it, different civilizations, different cultures, and that is expressing yourself, being who you are. But nowadays, with so many, so many different interpretations of different concepts, different ways of thinking, and being compressed and suppressed by the communities, organizations, governments, it has become a very taboo topic as well. But if you look at the LGBT community and the need to express yourself, that is a basic human nature. That is the basic human nature, and expressing ourselves is the freedom that we must have. So once again, thank you very much for bringing up this topic and addressing it, bringing it into the Rotaract community, because we are a volunteer organization and we need a lot of ideas, perspectives, different ways of thinking when it comes to solving problems in the community, solving problems in the groups of people that surround us. So what I want to say is, every person has their own unique ways of thinking, doing things, approaching problems, and we need to make sure everyone is included in our decision making process when it comes to solving problems. And we must welcome everyone as they are for who they are. So, like I said, I really appreciate you taking up this initiative and also appreciating the participants, because I'm sure this session is going to be one valuable session with all the experts in the field, the activists, the specialists in this topic are going to address you and share their thoughts, which will be something really valuable. So I'm not going to take much of your time because there's a group of extremely specialist speakers who are going to address you and talk to you about this topic. Wish you all the very best, and thank you very much for having me here. Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rotarian Rotaract past president, Vijay. I really hope you would stay with us till the beginning. Okay, without further ado, let us go to the event. Introduction of the panelists. Panelist number one. He is a lawyer and equality director at iPro Bono. He leads the organization's LGBTQ access to justice work and has been a pioneering activist in the field of diversity and inclusion. He also has spearheaded a number of initiatives and pro bono projects promoting diversity, equality, and human rights, specifically LGBTQ rights globally. He advises lawyers across the Commonwealth, challenging lawyers that criminalize homosexuality, was instrumental in lobbying for the Transgender Equality Inquiry by the Women and Equalities Committee of the British Parliament through his work for non-gendered, and has advised the British government on using business to promote human rights. Since moving back to Sri Lanka in December 2016, he has advised the Sri Lankan government on policy reform and has been very active in lobbying for the discrimination of homosexuality and strengthening the rights of LGBTQ Sri Lankans. For his work, he was ranked number one future business leader by the international newspaper, the Financial Times, in their 2015 outstanding list alongside Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg. He is none other than a very good friend of mine, the amazing Arita Vikramsinghe. We are humbled and honored to have you as a panelist, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Sure, Arita, thank you for joining us. Panelist number two. He is an exceptional Indian writer, Oscar-nominated director, and a producer. He is also a graduate from the New York Film Academy. He knew from his childhood he wanted to make films and show the world through his eyes. His latest film, Seven Chintu, explores the LGBTQ plus themes in India. The genius filmmaker, the most humble and a very good friend of mine, the wonderful Tushar Tyagi.
Thank you so much for inviting me to this panel. I'm very humble. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining, Tushar. We are humbled and honored to have you as a panelist, sir. Panelist number three. She is a known voice in Sri Lanka's human rights movement, calling for the rights of the LGBTQI+ community. Throughout the decade, since her breakthrough as a young advocate for HIV prevention and key populations in 2010, she has been an activist, a media spokesperson, a role model, and a subcommittee member of the Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka, speaking out of the rights of communities who are marginalized due to their sexual orientation and gender identity and or expression. She is currently serving as the executive director of the National Transgender Network Sri Lanka, a non-governmental organization working for the rights of the transgender communities of Sri Lanka. She is also an award-winning actress for her role in the hit blockbuster Sayapeti Kusuma. The boss lady is none other than Miss Bhumi Harendran. We are humbled and honored to have you as a panelist, ma'am. She right now isn't with us in the meeting, but however, she will be joining us at 8 p.m. sharp. Panelist number 4. He is a star British trampoline gymnastic who is a 5-time British champion, bronze medalist at the 2014 European Union Games, World Cup gold medalist, and World Championship medalist. He was the first British male senior trampoline gymnast to win an European Union medal in the last 32 years. He made groundbreaking news when he came out as bisexual in 2020. Joining with us all the way from Las Vegas, Nevada, United States of America, is the bomb, my dear friend Luke Strong. We are humbled and honored to have you as our panelist, sir. He will be joining us at 8 p.m. too. The introduction is over. So without further ado, let us start with our webinar. I cordially invite Mr. Arita Vikramasinghe to take the screen. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashan, and thank you very much to the Rotaract Club of Ratnapura. It's great to see these conversations around LGBT issues happen in Sri Lanka and actually happen outside of Colombo. I think a lot of these discussions are very much limited, are very Colombo-centric. So it's great to see that Rotary clubs, Rotaract clubs, and even Interact clubs are having these discussions because, as you said, you know, we are all one blood, we're all one humanity, and we should not be discriminating or differentiating each other because of our sexual orientation, our gender identity, race, religion, or whatever difference it may be. So thank you for having this conversation, and I'm really thrilled to be sharing this platform and this panel with some really fantastic panelists, some who I've worked with for several years and some who I'm getting to know through this panel. So thank you for bringing all of us together. It's a great initiative.
Thank you.
I'm a lawyer, and I think my strengths are in speaking about the law as it impacts Sri Lanka's LGBT community, and why these laws need to change. I think many of us, we have this perception that homosexuality is a criminal offense in Sri Lanka. And this perception we have sort of drives the negativity, the stereotyping, and the persecution and discrimination against LGBT individuals. There are actually two sides of this law. One is a question of what does the law actually say, and two is a question of how actually is this law implemented. Now there are two specific laws which are used primarily against the LGBT community. We shared these with India, but of course India has moved ahead. One of these laws is Section 365 of our Penal Code, which criminalizes carnal intercourse against the order of nature between man, woman, and animal. And the second law is Section 365A of our Penal Code, which criminalizes gross indecency, whether committed in public or private, between any persons. So when you are reading this law plainly, there's nowhere or nothing in this law which actually says that homosexuality or being LGBT is a criminal offense. The law criminalizes carnal intercourse against the order of nature. And carnal intercourse can be committed, according to this law, between man, woman, and animal. So it's clear that the law criminalizes bestiality, but does it actually criminalize homosexuality? The answer, a simple answer, is actually no. The law does not criminalize being gay or being lesbian or being bisexual or being transgender. The law doesn't do that. What the law does is that it criminalizes certain sexual acts. So it's a very sexual act specific law. And this part of our conversation, I'm going to be talking a bit about sex. It's, you know, a taboo subject in our parts of the world, but also it's a very important conversation to have, because we need to understand how this law impacts not just the LGBT community, but actually the wider society as well. So the original premise of this law, what we defined or what we thought of intercourse against the order of nature, was to criminalize anal sex, or the offense of sodomy as we knew it. So this was this first intention when it was introduced to us by the British about 135 years ago. So all these laws, they were the same laws the British gave across the empire. So us, India, and all the other colonies of the empire share this same penal code. So anal sex, yes, falls within the law. And then over the years, courts, so judges, started giving interpretations to this law to expand what they understood to be carnal intercourse against the order of nature. And there are some very, very odd and strange judgments. So a few years after its original interpretation as criminalizing sodomy, the courts held that actually the law also criminalizes oral sex. And this oral sex could be committed between heterosexual people as well as homosexual people. Then the court, a later court, then realized actually any form of sex without a reproductive purpose is a criminal offense. Because in the court's views, the only purpose to have sex is to reproduce children. I mean, it's an outrageous judgment. And that pretty much means that using contraception, such as a condom or a pill, is also a criminal offense, because you are clearly not intending to reproduce and have children when you're using contraception. Then actually what happened was a lot of heterosexual men started getting prosecuted under this law, because there were a lot of ex-wives and ex-girlfriends who were filing complaints against their ex-husbands, saying, my husband made me give him oral sex. And the law took this position that the person giving or performing the oral sex was the victim, even if they consented to it. So the courts realized, okay, now actually, because of the interpretations the courts have given, that heterosexual people were also being prosecuted under this law. And then the court decided to narrow down its understanding and definition of carnal intercourse against the order of nature. And the court said, actually, you know what, oral sex is okay as long as it leads to natural vaginal sex soon after. So what the court said was, if you ejaculate after receiving a blowjob or oral sex, that's a criminal offense. But if you receive oral sex and you continue to have natural vaginal sex soon after, so oral sex is only foreplay, that's okay. I mean, this is such a gross interference into the privacy of two consenting adults. What two people are doing in their own bedrooms is not the court's business. It's not the police's business. It is not up to a judge to tell two individuals, whether they're homosexual or heterosexual, that it is not enough for them to get a blowjob, that they have to move on and have natural vaginal sex with, mind you, the intention to reproduce children. So then the court also, there was another judgment which came from the region that said that thigh sex, you know, putting your penis between the thighs of an individual, that was also a criminal offense. And then the most funniest judgment of them all held that mutual masturbation is also a criminal offense, because when you're masturbating someone with your hand and the penis is going through your hand, that is carnal intercourse. And because obviously you cannot be reproducing any child if you're masturbating someone, that is intercourse against the order of nature. So very absurd and outrageous judgments. Now we have the gross indecency offense, which comes under 365A. There is no clear definition of what that means. And again, it can be committed between heterosexual or homosexual people. You know, a few months ago, we had reports in the newspaper where about 100 couples in Anuradhapura, in a park in Anuradhapura, were arrested for simple things like holding hands and showing affection in public. The police was using the gross indecency offense to arrest these couples. There was a case which was reported in Buttala in Sri Lanka, in the southern part of the island. In this particular case, it was a heterosexual couple, a 21-year-old woman and a 24-year-old man. They had booked a private room in a hotel. And then the woman was performing oral sex on the man. They're both consenting adults. There was a neighbor who was against this relationship. And this neighbor was peeping through the window and secretly, without their permission, observing them having sex in the privacy of a bedroom. The neighbor then decides to call the police. The police, instead of arresting the neighbor for interfering into and unlawfully peeking into the bedroom of someone, the police arrested the couple and prosecuted them, even though they were heterosexual, they were having consensual relations. They were prosecuted under these same laws. So these laws affect everyone, but why we say it leads to a criminalization of homosexuality is because in practice, the vast majority of people whom the police arrests, harass, and prosecutes under these laws are LGBT people. They are the main target. Heterosexual people are sometimes, you can say, are the collateral damage of judges having extended the interpretation of this law. But the main target and the main people are LGBT people. When you actually look at the grave crime statistics published by our police, the number of arrests for unnatural sex in Sri Lanka is actually higher than the number of arrests for child rape.
Very true.
Now that's a problem. It's a problem if our police thinks that if our police is using our limited resources to arrest people for consensual sex, but not arresting people for forced sex, for rape. They're not using their resources to arrest rapists, not even rapists of children, but they're spending more time and more of their resources to see what two consenting adults are doing in the privacy of their bedrooms and going and arresting them and prosecuting them. These are victimless crimes. Now I can share with you some of the cases that I've been involved in here for the last few years. There is one case I'm involved in where there were 3 individuals, there were 3 gay men. They were in a room, they were literally having a drink and eating and chatting to each other in a private hotel room, like many of us do when we go on trips. We book a room, we are having drinks there, we're eating there, we're minding our own business. There were some people in that hotel who found them suspicious and reported them to the police. The police raided, broke down that hotel room door, raided that room, arrested these 3 individuals, one of whom was a Swedish national, took them to the police station. He whipped them with wires, the 2 Sri Lankans the police whipped the 2 Sri Lankans with wires. They were then subjected to a forced anal examination. These are tests which are done to find evidence or proof that the individuals had anal sex. So they were subjected to forced anal examinations. And then they were also subjected to forced sexual health screenings to determine whether they had any sexually transmitted infections. In fact, one of the defendants in this case was found, was diagnosed with HIV, and his diagnosis was revealed in court in public. That's when he found out. I mean, just think that Sri Lanka's police is prosecuting gay individuals for consensual relations, and they're trying to find evidence that they're gay by forcing their fingers inside the rectum of gay individuals. I mean, who has committed the criminal offense here? The LGBT individuals who are having a drink and having a meal in the privacy of a bedroom, or even having consensual sexual relations, or the police who are forcing their fingers, or the judicial medical officers who are also forcing their fingers inside the bum holes, the rectums of LGBT individuals to find out if they've had sex. Who are the actual perverts? They are the police. They're the judicial medical officers. They are the perverts who are doing this to LGBT individuals. But somehow the law sees the LGBT individuals as the criminals, but the police as the upholders of justice. There was another case I was involved in, which involved a cisgendered woman and a trans man. So trans man is someone who was born biologically female and then has assigned themselves with the gender as male. Now, Sri Lanka has progressive transgender rules. You can legally change your gender. You can obtain a gender recognition certificate here through the health ministry. And then you can change your birth certificate, your national identity card, and your passport. So we recognize someone's affirmed gender. So the trans man had gone through the legal gender recognition process and then actually entered into a legal marriage with his wife. Now, the parents of his wife had a problem with their relationship, filed a complaint with the police. The police arrested them, beat them up, took them to the judicial medical officers for an examination. The judicial medical officers inserted their fingers inside the vaginas of the woman and the trans man. When they inserted their fingers, they did not seek their consent for it. And when the woman screamed and said it was painful, the medical officer said that next time he's going to insert a firecracker inside her vagina. And the reason why they were inserting their fingers inside their vaginas was to see if they were virgins or not, to prosecute them for homosexuality. Now, these are two people who both have vaginas. So there's nothing that can really be inserted into the other vagina. Maybe a finger or something, right? But there's no penis here. This is not sodomy. You're literally putting fingers up vaginas of two individuals to see if they were virgins. These are virginity tests. These are awful. These are only perverts will do things like that. But this is our justice system. These are the upholders of justice, perverts. but it is LGBT individuals who have to spend time in remand, in prison, going to court, and carrying the shame. LGBT individuals have to carry the shame of police officers and medical officers forcing their fingers inside the rectums and inside their vaginas. They are the real victims. And this victimization continues when it comes to employment, when it comes to access to services. So many LGBT individuals I know and I work with are afraid to report any complaint to the police. If a robber jumps into their house, they don't want to go tell the police because they're afraid that the police will use their sexual orientation or their gender identity against them to prosecute them and not the robber. It has actually happened before. The police was more interested in the relationship between two individuals living in the house than actually trying to catch the person who jumped and broke into their house and stole things from. So this means that LGBT individuals are denied access to justice, any form of justice. When we look at employment, there was an excellent report and research done by Equal Ground, which showed that over 50% of LGBT individuals were either fired from their job or were denied employment because of their sexual orientation or gender identity. Nearly 70% of them had also suffered physical violence or sexual violence because of their sexual orientation or gender identity. That's a tremendously huge number of people. And these are all victims of a system that is completely unjust, with laws given to us by the British, by a colonizer, and which the colonizer themselves have changed. Today, the UK is a bastion for LGBT people. It's a safe haven. Today, India has moved ahead and progressed and created safe spaces. But Sri Lanka, we celebrate 70-something years of independence. But how can we claim independence if we are still strangled and shackled by laws given to us by a colonizer whose main purpose was to control and subjugate people? We didn't really become independent. We just changed the white colonizer and replaced with the brown version of it. Same laws, same system, same oppression. And oppression against a community who really just wants to live in peace. Does not really want anything but the same equal and dignified status as any other citizen and individual living in this country. I mean, there have been some progressive changes that has happened in our legal environment over the last few years. Since 2014, the Attorney General of Sri Lanka has almost every year made a statement saying that discrimination against LGBT people is unconstitutional and that LGBT people are protected under the right to equality of the Constitution and the freedom from discrimination provisions in the Constitution. So this has been the consistent message by the Attorney General. In 2016, we had a case which went to the Supreme Court. It was concerned two gay men who were being prosecuted for gay sex. Ironically, one of them was a police officer, and they were sentenced by the High Court, and they appealed their sentence. They only appealed on the ground of a sentence. They didn't appeal the conviction itself. And the Supreme Court asked the question. Supreme Court said, this is 2016. The country which gave us this law has moved on and changed it. Do we still need to have these laws in our books? Isn't it time we change? And the court said, look, they have committed this offense under the law, but because they consented to this action, we are not going to give them a custodial sentence. And they let them go. So the difference between Sri Lanka's Supreme Court and India's Supreme Court is that in India, the Supreme Court can strike down laws that are unconstitutional. So if there's a law which violates your fundamental rights, the Supreme Court can strike it down. Most courts which have written constitutions have this power. Sri Lanka's framework, constitutional framework, is a bit strange in the sense that our Supreme Court, once a law has been passed, cannot strike it down on the grounds of unconstitutionality. So once a law is passed, even if it violates our constitution, that law takes precedence and superiority over our constitutional rights. Now, since we changed our constitution in 1978, our Supreme Court has the power to review bills before they become laws. So many of us are familiar with the challenges to laws based on their constitutionality, but that happens before that bill becomes law. But for all laws that were passed before our 1978 constitution, these laws remain valid. And most of our laws which discriminate, which violate, and which oppress people are before 1978. And therefore, there is no other way for us to reform these laws rather than going to Parliament and expecting our parliamentarians, of all parliamentarians, to accept that it's time we reform these laws. Now, in October last year, we had the Justice Minister, Ali Sabri, who made a very, very progressive statement publicly on the non-discrimination of LGBT individuals, and that he was committed, and the present government was committed to the dignity and equality of LGBT individuals. He made this statement in response to the exposure in the media on these forced anal examinations that were happening against LGBT individuals. Then remarkably, in March this year, our president, Gotabaya Rajapaksa, he became the first head of state anywhere in South Asia to openly tweet a message on World Non-Discrimination Day, saying that he's committed to non-discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity. Very, very progressive statements coming from the highest sources of power in Sri Lanka. That probably means that there has been a political shift in how we're thinking about these issues. I think society has moved forward a lot. I think there's a lot of discussion about these issues happening in society. People are aware that LGBT people are normal people like you and I. There's no difference between any of us. And that LGBT people want the same things as anyone else. To live a peaceful life in dignity, to be happy, to pursue happiness, to be valued for what they bring to the table, to be cherished for that, not to be judged based on how they were born or what they're doing in the privacy of their bedrooms with someone who is consenting to that. So I think we're seeing some progressive change. I'm working with the Justice Ministry now on certain reforms to the penal code. And we're hoping that there will be some positive action. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Aditya, for the information, like the vast aspect of knowledge you gave us today is impeccable. I really hope the participants got to know about the legalities in Sri Lanka, how the legal framework is unfavoring the LGBT community actually. So, Aditya, I have a huge question. We are still following the laws which the British had implemented like way past colonization and everything. So how do you think we as a society should move forward? Do you think, as you said, that you are working with the ministry for reforming, do you think it will get passed? What do you think about that?
Well, for it to get passed, Ashan, we have to convince at least half our parliamentarians to agree to it. Most of our parliament, we have a parliament which is 95% male. Most are not very educated. Most are quite homophobic, I would say. You know, it is, but of course, our parliamentarians also listen to society and what society is talking about. I think that as long as, you know, organizations such as Rotaract keep up the pressure, have these discussions, and convey those messages to your political representatives that, you know, change these laws. It's got no impact on. It'll only make the lives of individuals better. Not only LGBT individuals, as I've given you examples, heterosexual people are also being pulled into the ring of this law. They're also being prosecuted. You know, any day someone can peep into your bedroom window, even seeing a husband and wife. If they're having sex without a reproductive purpose, they can be thrown into jail. You know, like, we have to move beyond the society. We have to have a criminal justice system that is focused on actual crimes and actual victims. It needs to be victim centric. If there are no victims to a crime, then is it a crime? It should not be a crime. If no one has suffered any injustice from a crime, it's not a crime. And that is what we need to push our penal code to change.
Very true, Arita. Also, talking about, I follow you on Instagram and I see people as in, I see young generation, the Gen Z is actually coming, right, texting you about their coming out and how they're afraid to come out, how they feel that they would be discriminated because they are for being who they are. So as a society, like the community has been discriminated, which is a fact, and which is why these webinars have been conducted. So why do you, what message do you have to give to the people present here today so that their brothers, sisters, or anyone they know is comfortable coming out to them and is being accepted for being who they are?
That's such an important question. I mean, I came out as gay when I was 15 years old. This was in 1999, so a long time ago. Not everyone had internet back then. Not everyone knew what being gay was. It was, for me, what convinced me to come out was, you know, I was close to my family, I was close to my friends. And, you know, I grew up here in Colombo. And, you know, when I just wanted to be honest with people I loved. And I also expected the people I loved to love me back and give me that security. And they always gave me that security before I came out that, look, we love you no matter what. You know, my parents don't love me because I'm gay. You know, my sexual orientation is not a factor in them loving and accepting me. It's because I'm their son and I'm a good son. You know, my friends, they don't love me again because of my sexual orientation. It's irrelevant, right? You love your friend because they're kind, they care for you, you know, they love you. That's, you know. So for me, that was very important. And I was lucky that I was accepted. And from my friends to my family, they all say, oh, it doesn't matter. You know, we always knew you were different and it doesn't bother us. You're still, you know, I was still the same Arita after I came out. You know, I hadn't changed suddenly overnight. I just revealed more information about who I was. I just became more honest. In fact, I became a better Arita in a way. I was a more honest version. So I think, you know, we have to let our loved ones know that that we love them unconditionally and that we won't judge them because of their sexual orientation or gender identity, and that we are each a safe person, a safe space for our loved ones to trust us, to speak about it. You know, it's very, very scary to come out that you're gay. And one thing I noticed, which I experienced myself, is that if every person who writes to me about coming out, they're so scared that their parents will reject them. That's their biggest fear. the biggest fear is rejection from parents. And it's a rightfully held fear because a lot of LGBT individuals have been made homeless. Young people, children have been made homeless by parents who did not want to accept their sexual orientation or gender identity. And for parents like that, I have to say, shame on you. If you cannot accept the child that you brought to this world, these are your genes in that child. This is your biology. If you cannot accept the child that you created, then shame on you, for making that child suffer. So I think it's a duty on all of us, especially parents, friends, family, to accept and love our LGBT siblings, children, and LGBT brothers and sisters. And I hope we can create those spaces, you can create those safe spaces for them.
Very true, Arita. Also, I have to mention that Arita is a very good friend of mine, and I'm really proud to be his friend. Just not because of him being him, but he's very humble and everything. I'm sure that everyone must know it by now. So I am going to start question and answer session for everyone. So everyone who's interested in asking any question from Arita about the legalities in Sri Lanka or anything regarding the LGBTQ community of Sri Lanka, it's your time now.
Excuse me.
Yeah, sure.
Actually, I just want to ask from Arita, because I have heard and I have seen what the work you have done. It's amazing. But I just wanted to ask a general question, like if you want to describe yourself, because you have started from like a lot of a place where others would consider to be not so easy. And obviously you have also had ups and downs in your life, and you might have gone down surface in giving up and come again back. So tell me the character you as a characteristic which made you not give up and hold on to it and achieve what you want to do, to see the change that you want to do to this society. I just want to know that, simply that characteristic and what sort of made you drive to achieve.
God,
Arita, let's
I mean, yeah, we
do a very short answer for that because we're running out of time. Very quick
okay.
answer.
I think one character which is my sense of integrity and justice. I have if I feel that I have done nothing wrong, and I think someone or myself deserves justice for what has happened, then I will pursue that. I mean, I experienced it a few years ago. I was running this education program here. I was one of the founders of it. It's called Think Equal. It's a global program. We had amazing people on board, Meryl Streep, Susan Sarandon, and I wanted Sri Lanka to be the first country to pilot it. And I came here actually to start that program. And then, few years, about a year or two after the program started, a lot of these politicians, because it was very successful, it was a program which was teaching children social emotional intelligence. And we had devised this with Montessori and with the National Education Commission here. And then the politicians suddenly, who were in the opposition then and government now, started saying this program is spreading homosexuality to young children because it's led by a gay man. And I mean, that actually really, really broke me, because for the first time, I thought if it was an attack just on me, I could have fought back. But this is an attack which is also discrediting a lot of hard work done by other people. And this program was incredible. I was seeing it transform the lives of children for the better. And I thought, for the first time, I thought, oh my God, my sexual orientation is a liability, and it was discrediting good work done by other people. So, I took the decision to resign from the program, because we were an international program. We were in a lot of countries that did discriminate and imprison LGBT people. We were in Nigeria, Botswana, Ghana, Pakistan, and then India, before the laws had changed. And so, I said, look, I'm going to resign because I want the program to succeed. Because at the end of the day, the success of a program like that, which was teaching children social emotional intelligence, would be the defeat of those ideas of homophobia in the future. So even though it may have come across as a victory for those homophobic politicians by me stepping down, for me, I took comfort that eventually it will be a victory for me. Because this program is not about me, it's about those children. And if those children are able to change their mindsets, they will challenge these homophobic ideas in the future. And what I did after that was, I actually focused all the time and energy I had to push for reform on LGBT issues. I take up, I'm a big advocate and work on child rights and child abuse matters. So I continued my sense of purpose and justice, but in different areas and in areas where, I could take more ownership of. So yeah, I mean, it's, I would say, having a sense of integrity is important. Knowing who you are is very important. Always focus on first knowing yourself, loving yourself. I think you need to love yourself first before you start loving someone else. And that doesn't mean being narcissistic, but it's about, knowing who you are, appreciating who you are, knowing your worth and value. And that gives me the fighting spirit.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much,
Ajay.
Thank you so much.
Sajid,
I wish you all the very best for your work, and just keep on reckoning and doing the good stuff that you're doing. All the very
Thank
best.
you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Sajid. Also, I had to do a quick announcement. Our president had posted a link in the chat section of the Zoom meeting. Please do fill the link with the name and everything to get your e-certificate, which Aritha and Tushar will be signing. Also, yeah, so it's the end of the session of Aritha. So if everyone could turn on your cams for a video, for a screen capture, it would be amazing because Arita will be leaving after the session. Can everyone turn your cams on if it's possible for a screen capture? Everyone possible. Okay, Dilanka, can you take that? Everyone possible, please turn your camera on to take a picture with Arita.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Say cheese.
Okay, so I really want to thank Arita. Thank you so much. I can't see Arita. Where is he?
I'm here.
Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you so much, Arita, for participating. Our secretary of the Rotaract Club of Ratnapura will be thanking you at the water speech at the end, but you won't be here. So I really want to thank you personally, guys. You would know, I just texted Arita saying that, Arita, I'm going to do this for the community via the Rotaract. So could you please be? And he was like, sure. It was just one text, and here he is today. He's one of the most humble person ever. So if you guys have any question, please text me. I will get to him and let you answer about anything, or just directly Instagram him. He's on Instagram as arita.w. So Arita, thank you so much for participating today. I really hope you enjoy the session, and I really hope the participants got so much knowledge and to broaden their the things they know about the LGBT community and what to do, what to do not, and how to support their brother, sister, or friend to come out and everything. Thank you so much for doing that, Arita. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you. And really, this is an amazing conversation. And I wish you all the best. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you so much, Arita. Good night. Take care. Okay, so with Arita going off, now it's time for our second panelist, Mr. Tushar Tyagi joining us all the way from Delhi, India, our Oscar-nominated director, my good friend Tushar. The screen is yours.
Hi, Yashan. Thank you so much, first of all, for inviting me to this wonderful panel. And I just want to like kind of just acknowledge and thank Arita for, saying all what he said, because, as people of marginalized community, one definitely needs to know what are their rights, and how can they be legally represented. Because I've lived in America, I now live in India for some time, I've traveled a lot, and a lot of the legalities kind of narrow down if you know about your rights. And it is very important to know one's right, and Arita is doing amazing job with telling people about legalities and law and stuff like that. So I just want to start with, like, unlike Arita, my kind of angle would be storytelling, because I'm a filmmaker. And I just want to start with my opening kind of speech or something, and then I'll go into my stories that are real life experiences. So I just want to say, as a filmmaker, I feel making film that puts LGBTQIA plus issues to the forefront is so important for me. It's like my calling. It is very important to start conversation in, personally for me, it is very important to start conversation in my limited capacity, to start a way of change in this evolving circumstances around the globe and in the world of present Asia and around the world as well. And it's high time to create awareness and start conversation on a bigger level through the medium of films and art. Because I think personally, one thing that you can and everybody else can do to kind of just put a little bit of a baby step forward in creating an ecosystem that is much more welcoming, that is much more warm, is we keep talking about stuff like that, like issues about the community, how the community functions, what are the legal problems, and what can be done about it. Because the more you talk, the more it gets eclectimized to the people's kind of psyche. And I just want to like share a couple of stories from my experience. So recently, as you mentioned, I made film Saving Chintu, which deals with a same-sex couple who comes to India to adopt a kid living with an HIV in an Indian orphanage, and how they had to cope up with the kind of cultural issues. So what I did, I actually spent a lot of time doing research. I spent an year doing research, and coming from America, like I've been living in America almost 10 years, and seeing how the community is accepted there, though they also have some issues, but how widely it's accepted there. And then coming to South Asia, and coming to specifically India, how community people and individuals are suppressed here just because of something that they don't have control over. It's not a choice that you choose being homosexual over heterosexual, right? So that's something that is not in their control, or something that they don't have power over, and for that they are being suppressed. So I'll tell you. So what happened was, I had a script of Saving Chintu, but I was waiting, it was on the shelf, just I wanted to make it much more kind of enriching and bring real people's experience to it. So what I did was, like, I went to Rishikesh, and Rishikesh is a holy city in India where you have all the ashrams, and you can just go and live and be spiritual and evolving and self-evolving, to be honest. And I went there, and there were 8 people in my group, and we were just sitting around the garden one day, and we were like telling each other about where we come from. And there was this white guy named Jeremy, who is from New York, and he told the group that he is from New York, and he's been living in India since 2001, and he runs a shelter. And being a filmmaker and being a curious person that I am, I went to him later and I asked him what kind of shelter does he runs. And the stories that he told me shook me to my core. So he told me that, back in 2001, he was diagnosed with HIV back in New York. And he wanted to take a trip where he could just, accept the fact and, kind of sort of healing trip. So he came to India and he went north, south, west, and east to India. And what happened was like he ended up in Nagpur. So Nagpur is in state of Maharashtra, and he came across a lot of kids whose parents passed away due to HIV, and the kids also had the parents passed away due to AIDS, and a lot of kids that he came across were living with HIV. They were born with HIV, right? So what he decided to do, he decided to sell his property that he owns back in America to create a shelter in Nagpur, India, so that he can, and these kids, they did not have, let alone rights. I mean, we are talking about rights. These kids didn't have roof over their heads. These kids didn't have food, no, like no health amenities, no nothing. So this guy created a shelter, and slowly he started bringing these kids from all around India to this shelter, where he started providing, health. He started providing education. He started providing just the place to live and eat, and just be some kind of productive. And I asked him, being from the community, since I know India is India and it's 2001, is right now we are talking about demolishing of section 377, but back in 2001, people were not even comfortable about talking about word gay or homosexual, let alone accepting the fact of that, right? So now what happens is, like, I asked what kind of atrocities, because I knew he must have gone through atrocities, he went through to be here where he's now. And the stories that he told me kind of pushed me in the direction that kind of led me to make Saving Chintu. So he told me that, for a very long time, he was providing education to these kids. Like, he right now in his shelter, he has like 25 kids. And he said until 2017, I was providing education to these kids. I was teaching them, and a lot of social workers were coming in his shelter and teaching these kids. And he was like, this was until 2012 so he bought the shelter in the main city, Nagpur. And when local people came to know that this guy has, he's giving shelter to, at the time, 17 to 18 HIV positive kids, they freaked out, thinking that the infection is gonna, be prevalent here. Then again, it comes back to awareness and knowledge, because they didn't know how HIV spreads. So what happened, these people, they hired local goons, and they were harassing this guy, Jeremy, to take his kids and stop the shelter and take his kids somewhere. And being the New York tough guy he never took it seriously. He didn't want to like give away his shelter, because just a couple of people who are unaware and who are not knowledgeable, who don't even care to Google and find out how HIV spreads, because of their kind of, emotional or physical insecurity. But until one day, one of his shelter kids was kind of kidnapped and killed and dumped in front of the big trash can right outside his shelter. That was the point he decided that he's gonna move from the main city. And what he did was, like, he bought another building like 30 kilometers or 40 kilometers away from Nagpur, and he moved all the kids there. And he was providing health, education, space, food, everything. And then he told me in 2017 he went to the school, because by that time these kids were like in fifth, sixth class. Somebody was in seventh, eighth class. So he wanted for his shelter kids to have proper education. And more than proper education, if you go to school, you are in a curriculum that exposes you to a lot of co-curricular activity, and you make friends, you talk to friends, you come to know about world, right? So he wanted that, and he went to a school nearby. He spoke to the principal, and the principal asked him, what does he do? He told that he runs a shelter for HIV positive kids, whatever. And during the conversation, so this was the conversation. Now, all the 25 kids were admissioned in this school. And when during the end of the process, what do you say? Principal asked him for his name. So he provided his card because she was not getting his name. So he just gave his visiting card so that she can literally see and type. And there was a big logo of HIV on his card. And she just became curious. She was like, are these the kids that you've been talking about? Are these the kids from the shelter? And he said, yes. They canceled all the admission right at there. So I don't understand the kids, who are born with HIV. Why don't they have right to get to receive quality education that everybody else does? And these are not even homosexual kids. These are just kids with HIV. But as Arita was talking, that it does extend to heterosexuality norm when it comes about a lot of legal stuff. And what happened was, like, he also told me that that Indian government is not giving him money, because if you are living with HIV, you need to get tested every 3 months, you need to have medication and stuff like that. He was getting all the funds from America to kind of take care of these kids. And when I heard the story, and when I saw that this guy, an individual from the community, which specifically I'm talking about India, people are not acceptable of, is doing so much for the community, especially for the community that he's not even the countryman of. He's from America, and he literally moved to India to serve these people, serve Indian community. And why shouldn't he have right to be accepted? Why shouldn't he have right, what all the other people kind of enjoy? I mean, right is something that you enjoy, and the people who don't have right, it's just like a big discrimination. Second story I'll quickly tell you. And during my research mode, I went to this village, and because I wanted to also kind of, India has a very big difference when it comes to urban India and rural India, and they're different world altogether. And I wanted to see how the unawareness or unacceptability kind of affects the community member living in very narrow mentality kind of environment, which are rural India, and which are villages. So I came across this guy who was 21 at the time, and I'm talking about 2019. He was 21. He was married when he was 18. He was forced into marriage when he was 18. And this guy has kids and everything. But one of these days, because obviously he never came out because he will never be accepted. He was living in, he was living dual life under sheets. One day he was caught kissing another guy, and the entire village stoned him. Like, they beat him to almost death. And when I saw him, when we met, he had so many kind of spots on his body, like these atrocity spots, which he received from that beating. So I personally think that a lot of conversation needs to be done to create the safe ecosystem. I also believe that people talk about acceptability. I have a couple of questions, like even Arita mentioned, why somebody needs to peek hole in somebody else's private bedroom and then not get punished. My question is, when somebody, I'm talking about the society who's not accepting LGBTQ community, when you do not invest in their education, when you don't invest in their living, when you don't pay any bills, when you don't pay their groceries bill, then what gives you right to tell someone how to live their life? Either you have been investing your time, money, effort, that gives you a little bit of right to express your views. When you don't do that, then you don't have right to tell anybody how to live. Second thing, see, and I'm coming from a very filmmaker's perspective. So this earth is just a mere, speck dot when we kind of, when we put in comparison to this universe. So, and when we live on this planet, it is so immensely huge that we cannot cover all the countries, all the cities, all the states, all the villages in one lifetime. So we live on a very big planet. We live on a planet that the portions of it are not even touched by humanity. So I'm just asking, why we cannot create space for everyone to live? Like, it's not going to take space from your space. If the people who are not accepting of LGBTQ society or people or community, why they cannot create space in their head, in their mind, just to be enough to be starting a conversation and try to understand. I've come across so many people who don't even want to have conversation or try to understand another perspective. So a lot of things I try to put forth in my films, and I think as a filmmaker, I have this kind of tool to tell stories which are kind of putting limelight on the issues that LGBTQIA community deals with, that people don't even know that they are issues. Like, homosexuals cannot, two homosexual cannot, or a gay couple cannot adopt kids. And now my next question comes, that these kids, first of all, what gives a stem that a heterosexual or a homosexual, right? There is a heterosexual couple, there's a homosexual couple. What gives the stem that being heterosexual couple directly translate to being a good parent? I'm just like wondering, how can you predict, or how can you tell, or how can you guarantee that a homosexual couple cannot be good parents, hence you cannot give kids to homosexual couple, they cannot adopt the kids and stuff like that? And second thing is, these kids in orphanages, the opportunities are being tossed out left, right, center, just because of the egos that society is not accepting. If society is accepting, that also creates much more space and much more opportunities for these kids to be accepted, no matter of the gender of the parents, no matter the sexualities of the parents. And hence it also gives opportunities for better future, better education, better health. And I think as a filmmaker, rest of my life, my kind of hope, and I'm just being very passionate right now. So my hope, and I'll try to do this, to create a safe space through my films, that if somebody watches my film, and that happened through Saving Chintu, like last year when the Saving Chintu was in film festival, and it was so humbling that I was getting Instagram messages from South America, from North America, from France, and from Mexico, and a lot of them from the countries that are very stiff when it comes to LGBTQ rules, that it moved people. And two kids, I don't know their ages, but two kids DM'd me, sent me Instagram messages after watching the film. They came out to their parents. And this is the kind of effect that films, movies, and discussion help and create safe space. So as a filmmaker, moving forward, my only idea, my hope, and my kind of aim is to create that safe space for people to start conversing, creating awareness, and being accepting. And my belief is, let's be more accepting instead of expecting. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tushar, for the lovely thoughts about how movies and the perspective of general society is like intertwining. So, if you guys didn't know that as Tushar said, Saving Chintu was made by Tushar, and it got nominated for Oscars. I will tell it in Sinhala as well. Tushar gave Oscar film එකක් කරා, චූරි short film එකක්. ඒක Oscar nominate වුණා. ඒක ගැන අපි ගොඩක් දේවල් දැන් දැනගත්තා. I had so much questions to ask from you, Tushar, but you answered everything from what you did, and finally, like everything. Now I have no questions to ask. What should I do? So everyone, so if anyone, we can entertain one question because we are running with a time issue. So anyone who wants to join Bollywood, I'm kidding. You can ask anything from Tushar, just one, about saving Chintu or about films and about how LGBTQ intertwined to the filmmaking and anything. Is there anyone? Okay, so seeing none, so which takes us to Tushar's session ending. So thank you so much, Tushar. As I said for Anita, I'm going to tell you too that our secretary will be doing the official vote of thanks, thanking you at the end. But since you are going to leave now, thank you so much for doing this. Thank you so much for
I'm sorry,
joining.
can I ask?
Yeah, sure, Sajid. Just a quick question.
Yeah, I'm actually sorry to take your time. Well, basically, I just want to know, similar to what I asked earlier, like what is the main characteristic that kept you ongoing with all the hardships, if you would like to say, in your character, which made you be resilient and to keep on going? Because as you also must have gone through a lot of hardships, so it's not easy. So
Sajid, I'll tell you, because quickly I'll tell you my resilience for it's for marginalized communities. It's for people who don't have the voice of their own. And fortunately enough, it's my passion. I always wanted to give voice and tell stories. So it has always been like, you know, I travel a lot. I see people who don't have voice. So my resilience come from from, you know, understanding the pain of people, the problems that they are living in, and giving them voice. I'll give you one quick example. When I was doing a research for Saving Chintu, I went to a lot of orphanages. And when I saw that these kids, like kids from 2 years to 10, 12, 13 years, they don't have health amenities, they don't get education, they don't have proper living conditions. And when I approached them and I was talking to them, I could see their eyes, their numb eyes, and I could see their teary eyes. And that made me question that why this is a rule that homosexual couple cannot adopt kids, when I can see that so many opportunities are being cut, being altered for these kids, just because of the egos or unawareness or misunderstanding or whatever it is. So I think my resilience is just giving people voice as much as I can.
thank you, and all the very best for your work, what you're doing.
Yes, Sajid, you can talk to Tushar if you want to go to Bollywood as well.
Oh, probably I would like to take a selfie with Shah Rukh Khan. I don't know whether you have any contacts.
It will be possible in a future session. We are planning for that as well.
I'm just kidding.
So, everyone who can turn your cameras on, please do, as Tushar will be leaving, and for a good photo. Everyone, who can. Okay, the Dilanka, can you take the screenshot? Are you there, Dilanka? Is Dilanka there? Dilanka.
Hello, wait.
Okay, sure.
Okay, now. Okay, done.
Okay. Okay, Tushar, thank you so much for joining. Okay, so guys, everyone, you should know this. It was just text like with Tushar. I just texted him saying that, Tushar, I'm doing this event. I want you doing this. And he was like, yeah, let's do this. And here we are doing this today. Thank you so much, Tushar, for participating, and wishing you the very best for everything. And I really hope you get the Oscar and call me saying that you want it the next year. Okay, so let's do that. Thank you so much, Tushar.
Thank you.
Okay, Tushar, thank you. Take care. Good night. Okay, so the session was about to have a 5-minute break, but as we got a little bit of time for our speakers, let's directly go to our third panelist. So just because some people had texted me to introduce again the third panelist because she wasn't even here when I introduced, and just because I have joined now. Okay, so she is a known voice in Sri Lanka's human rights movement, calling for the rights of the LGBTQI community. Throughout the decades since her breakthrough as a young advocate for HIV prevention and key populations in 2010, she has been an activist, a media spokesperson, a role model, and a subcommittee member of the Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka, speaking out for the rights of communities who are marginalized due to their sexual orientation and gender identity and or expression. She is currently serving as executive director of the National Transgender Network Sri Lanka, a non-governmental organization working for the rights of the transgender communities of Sri Lanka. She is also an award-winning actress for her role in the hit blockbuster Saipete Kusuma. The boss lady is none other than Miss Bhumi Harendran. Miss, we are humbled and honored to have you as our panelist, ma'am. Okay, Miss Bhumi Harendran, the screen is yours. I hope I saw she was here. Hi, Bhumi, how are you?
Hi. Hi, sorry. I didn't realize till, like introduce me when it's get to National Transgender Network, only I realized, okay, he's talking about me, right? Great. Thank you. I'm so overwhelmed with your introduction. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just a very normal and simple human being. And okay, I'm kind of tired of I'm very honest, like tired of talking about the same thing again and again. It's kind of unfortunate to have discussions on humanity, right? End of the day, whether we are talking about, acceptance, freedom, equality, whatever, it's come under humanity, right? As the previous speaker said, like if you're not investing, or like if you're not how can I say, spending your money, or like if you're not taking care of someone else, how much rights you have to control others life. We are very famous as Sri Lankans to worrying about others business, but not our lives, right? There are so many things happening in our personal lives, but we are too much busy to worrying about what's happening in others lives, right? In my perspective, I think I have to talk about as Ashant said, some sort of experiences and things what we can do to prevent these stigmas and discrimination, isn't it, Ashant?
Yeah, sure.
Yes. So I'm just curious because and also in a way I'm kind of shocked because these are the things that we have to think from our hearts, right? uh, it's like this. I mean, very recently I was like thinking to myself, okay, why is this? It's only about that I'm a trans person, or it's I then I realized it's just you are different, you are being stigmatized, you are getting discriminated. If I'm also having a kind of so-called normal life like others, as everybody knows, I born as a boy, and then I became a woman. So that's the difference. And I was, I was brave enough to stand up for what I believe. I was brave enough to, choose my life, to be who I am, to not to live a fake life, to not to, entertain what society asked me to do. I always follow my heart, and also from recently I started to use my brain as well, not to listen only to my heart, because I have messed up in in a lot of places when it's come to only listening to my heart. But I always followed my heart, so that's why I am different, and I choose my life. So just think about, like, whenever you stand it up for what you have seen as wrong, you have seen as this is not fair, this is kind of a thing that people shouldn't do. Just think about the reactions that you got from others, right? Whenever you are making decisions about your life, what kind of a how can I say, pressure, or what kind of a against comments that you have got, right? So it's not only about being trans person or a gay person. If you are different, you will be stigmatized, and you will be discriminated. So if I'm talking about uh, transgenders in Sri Lanka, so as I told you, like, being different is so difficult in Sri Lanka. So just think about, like, born as a boy and becoming a woman, because in Sri Lanka there's a uh, famous belief, by saying, I'll say it in Sinhala because I'm not that much fluent person in English to translate this. So in Sinhalese we are saying, පිරිමියෙක් වෙලා ඉපදෙන්න පින් කරන්න ඕනේ, right? So ගෑණියෙක් වෙලා ඉපදෙන්න පව් කරපු හින්දා. So so I have identified in early ages in my from my family as a double paukari, because පිනට හම්බ වෙච්ච පිරිමි ජීවිතේ I have turned into a paukara gani, right? And ගෑණියෙක් වීම the first mistake that I have done according to them, and පිරිමියෙක් වෙලා ගෑණියෙක් වීම the second fault that I have done. So like I'm a criminal person who have done 2 crimes, right? So I killed my man and I became a woman. So that's the biggest accusation that I got. Then you know wait 1 second, family calls. So the law, I mean, according to my observations, the laws and policies can be changed with, like, after having few struggles, after few years, right? So like when it comes to like LGBT movement, we are always proudly talking about European countries and other Suddas countries who brought these bullshit laws into our country, right? Yeah. And and what I always say is, okay, they also didn't achieve this freedom like doing nothing. They have done a kind of a huge struggle to change their laws and policies, also the social stigmas and discriminations. But what the biggest challenge is changing the attitudes, the perspectives, the myths that we are carrying out, right? I have been part of various discussions like this, and I have shared my opinion, my thoughts of being a trans woman, and like I have told people this is not a mental illness, or this is not a disease or disorder, this is just a natural thing, and this and that. But we always believe science, right? Whatever comes to things which related to science, we always like so much down to earth to believe those things, right? So in earlier ages, like the earth was, they have believed the earth kind of a flat thing.
Yeah.
Then they have realized, okay, this is kind of a round thing which is like moving around, right? Then it's because it's science says we believe, right? Whatever they are saying, we believe it. But when it's come to this kind of a sensitive things, the culture and the religions, everything comes together to, I mean, in order to against this kind of things. But this is basic humanity, right? So I think I'm not taking that much time, because I don't think that I have a lot of things to talk, because this, as I mentioned, this is kind of a basic thing. This is
Yeah.
kind of a thing that we have to question ourselves, that what kind of a qualities that I carry, what kind of a human being that I have to be. I mean, I should be, right? What kind of a responsibilities that I carry through my life, right? Whether I will be a great human being who will respect people's personal life, personal choices, which are not going to harm anyone's life. Okay, it's just a one example. I am Bhumi Harendran and I do a job and I pay for myself, for my life, to have my life, right? I don't depend on someone else's life. Just because I changed my gender, it doesn't harm anyone's life, right? If I'm expressing it in this way, in my language, mage kakul deka atara tiyana de, I think everybody can understand Sinhala, right?
No, Bhumi, there are people from all over,
Okay,
but it's
okay.
fine.
I'll try to translate it later on, because
Okay.
otherwise I will forget my flow.
Yeah.
In Sinhala, wherever I goes, I tell this. මගේ කකුල් දෙක අතර මැද්ද තියෙන දේ කාගේවත් ගෙදර බත ඉදෙන්න ප්‍රශ්නයක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ.
Very true.
මගේ කකුල් දෙක අතර තියෙන දේ මම වෙනස් කරා කියලා කාගේවත් නිින්ද කැඩෙන්නේ නැහැ. මගේ කකුල් දෙක අතර තියෙන දේන් කාගේවත් රස්සාවකට කාගේවත් ජීවිතේට හානියක් කරදරයක් වෙනසක් සිද්ධ වෙන්නේ නැහැ. Even I don't do such a things with my genital areas. I don't do my job with my whatever what I have in between my legs. I don't do my responsibilities. I don't like move forward with my genital areas, because there's nothing to do with that, right? It's me as a human being. We have to think about, and the thing is, like, the only thing that we have to worry about, right, as a human being, what kind of good things that I'm doing, what kind of a contribution that I'm doing towards to the society and development, right? And the only thing that we have to worry and consider about, what are the human responsibilities that we have to do as a contribution to enlighten others' lives, rather than giving your hand someone else to have a good life. What we are doing as a society is like putting them down, just because they are not living in a life that what I believe, right? We all have different lives. We all have different desires. We all have different targets in our lives. We all like to live a better life. So if I have that kind of a desire, why someone else shouldn't have that? And how much rights and power that I have to control someone else's life and destroy it? So I think there might be a lot of questions, so which I can answer and fulfill your expectations. So it's
Yeah.
just a basic human quality, I guess, to respect someone else,
Yes, Bhumi.
right, and
Very
help
true.
someone else to live a better life. So I'll just stop here, because it's kind of a, I think Arita have a lot of covered about the legal structure in Sri Lanka, what kind of discriminations happening in Sri Lanka, and you might have got an idea about the previous about the situations in people's life from the previous speaker. I can't remember his name. Sorry,
Tushar Tiyari.
Tushar.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of a fair enough explanation that they have given
Yeah.
to freshen up your mind and rethink about your human qualities. So I'll stop myself for now and I'll give space to questions.
Yes, Bhumi, thank you so much for this page. It was mind-blowing, really, about the fact about the transgender community in Sri Lanka, being a transgender yourself. And yeah, so we can entertain one question due to the time issues we have right now. Is there anyone who's wishing to ask a question from
Yeah.
Bhumi?
Can I?
Yeah, sure, Sajid, go for it.
Yeah. So first of all, I would like to say, Bhumi, I've seen almost so many YouTube videos of yours.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. And today but you didn't tell much because you wanted it to reach to the people through action. Yeah, you wanted it to be through action, even though you repeat the same thing. I understand. What I wanted, I'm going to ask a general thing, because all what you have said is heard by many.
You became muted. You're muted. Sajid?
Yeah, can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So so many things you've said is being heard by many, but I'm going to ask a general question. Okay. I'm very much intrigued and interested to know, how do you control your anger? Because there's so much of things that in social media, even what that many people, everyone will get pros and cons. Not only you, everybody, but I'm just saying, I'm just interested to know, how do you control your anger and project yourself in a much more great manner, which I consider to be appropriate in the way you're doing.
Okay, I think it's come with your experience. You know, like I used to react whenever people making bullshit comments on me, and you know, like trying to. I actually I have slapped few guys as well.
I know.
When it's come to, you know, harassments. One day, like I can remember in the bus. So I always wear very short sari blouses. So my hip is kind of visible when I'm wearing saris. So one person was keep poking my hip, and I really got mad, and I was a very hot tempered person. So I was like actually slapped him inside the bus. Then I felt really embarrassed, and I got out from the bus. So I used to react in that way, like long time ago. But when it's come to, I mean, like in some certain points in your life when you're growing up, and I believe that I'm mature enough to ignore the nonsense and the comments, and as I mean, that you're coming to a point.
Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt you. So you're talking about your maturity and with the time you got it, right?
Yeah, I mean, like it's not only me. I think it's for everyone. When you're mature enough to neglect and ignore the nonsense, and it's like as long as you're not letting those kind of words to hurt you, and you are mature enough to carry yourself, whatever people says, that I know who I am and I know what I'm doing, so I'm just ignoring them, because no word can harm me or tease me anymore.
Got it. So all the very best for all your work.
Thank you so much.
Sajid, thank you so much for the question. Okay, Bhumi, thank you so much for your speech, and thank you so much for participating on such very short notice. So let's end Bhumi's session today. Can everyone turn on your cameras to have a screen?
Before the group picture, I really love to leave one message, which I'm saying everywhere. So I'm here to not to accept it, difference and the diversity. But at the same time, if you can't accept it, don't harm anyone. Because you have right to accept it or not accept it. It's your personal perception. But you have no right to harm anyone or discriminate anyone. Because as much as you have rights to live on this earth, we also have to live. I mean, whatever you see as a different person also have rights to live peaceful life in this world. So be a good person, grow good qualities in your life, in your heart, spread love, because end of the day, we are taking nothing, right? But good memories. So be a good memory in someone else's heart. So yes.
Thank you, Bhumi. Those are very valuable words. I really hope the participants will resonate these words throughout their lives, actually. Okay, so to end the session, can everyone turn your cameras on, everyone possible, for a screen capture with Bhumi Harendran?
Am I look good? Okay.
As always.
Okay, Dinankar, can you do that?
Done. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Have
Okay.
a good life. Cheers, guys.
Thank you
Sorry,
so
it's
much,
my
Boo, for
weekend. I have to be prepared for tomorrow. So I have to
okay.
leave. Good night.
Thank you so much,
Bye.
Boo. Good night. Bye, Boa. Okay, so the next we have a very special speaker joining with us, the Rotaract chairman of the Rotary Club of Madras for the year 21-22, Honorable Counsel General Rotarian, Rotaractor, past District Rotaract representative of the District 3232, Shiv Kumar Eshwaran. He is also the Honorable Consul General of the Republic of Armenia. Sir, we are very honored to have you here. The screen is yours.
Yes, he'll be joining now. Just give me a second. I just called him.
I'm sorry, Mon, I didn't hear you.
Yeah, sir will be joining now. Give us 2
Okay.
minutes.
Okay, sure, Mon. Okay, sure. Let's give Sir 1 minute. Yeah, he's back.
Yeah.
Okay. Hello, sir. Welcome to the event.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure, sir.
President Dilakar Sanjay, Protractor President Rajkumar, wonderful to be here. This topic, the same blood, is an excellent initiative of both the clubs, Rotaract Club of Ratnapura and Rotaract Club of Madras. I'm very happy to be here, and also I had the chance to see a few of your panelists. The topic is brilliant. I like this famous quote of our Father of the Nation, be the change you want to see. And this exactly is what your session deals with. There has to be a change of ideas, a change of perspective, a change of thought where we deal with such a community. I understand the stigma involved with the LGBT community. I understand the stigma involved with people having AIDS and so on and so forth. The Rotaract is a brilliant movement. Rotaract is Rotary in action, and I'm so happy that the Rotaract clubs of Ratnapura and Rotaract Club of Madras is doing such a brilliant job to bring such wonderful people. I could see the likes of Bhumi Hariharan, Human Rights Commission, Luke Strong, a star gymnastic athlete, Tushar Tyagi, who I saw a few minutes before, Oscar-nominated director, and Arthia Vikramasinghe, equality director, wonderful panelists who have really given their thoughts. I'm also very happy that Rotaractor Ashan, the Twin Club Assistant Secretary and Chairman of this program, Rotaractor Mona, the Secretary of Rotaract Club of Madras, Rotaractor Shalini, the Twin Club Secretary of the Rotaract Club of Ratnapur, and Rotaractor Samyukta, International Service Director of Rotaract Club of Madras, have put such a wonderful job in bringing such wonderful minds. I would like to introduce myself as a member of the Rotary Club of Madras and also the chairman of the Rotaract for the year Rotaract Committee for the year 2021-22. I also happen to be the Consul General Honorary of the Republic of Armenia. I understand the laws as far as the LGBT community is not so good in Sri Lanka, but then India has changed its perspective. So is the country Armenia, which I represent. With programs like yours and programs which really brings a lot of insights into the happenings and also the change we need to have in our perspective. I'm sure this will become a better, chance for people in Sri Lanka to understand that they also need to look at it in a new perspective and change the laws there also. The laws of the land is actually something which is, that's what we put on ourselves, but it also has to change. The Constitution of India has been changed over the last 70 years, more than 72 times, and that's what it is. And that's exactly what Mahatma Gandhi said: "Be the change you want to see." Thank you for inviting me to this wonderful program. I'm sure initiatives like this will bring a whole lot of new perspectives and a whole sort of new ideas into these new topics, which people are a little worried to address, because I find it's a taboo. Sometimes when I ask people why they don't want to talk on this, they say that subjects like this is left, it's easier left untalked about than being talked about. Wonderful initiative, both these clubs, Rotaract Club of Ratnapura and Rotaract Club of Madras. I'm sure you would change the perspective of people, and there will be a better world. And also, I'm happy that both of you are a sister club arrangement. I believe in countries without boundaries, friendship does not have any boundaries. I'm sure this initiative will bring the Rotaractors of both the clubs closer. Thank you for inviting me. I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you so much, sir, for the flattering compliments, and thank you so much for gracing our event and adding so much value to it. I really hope you enjoyed the session. And okay, so let's go to our next panelist. So because he wasn't here, I was being asked to introduce him again. Give me a minute. Okay, panelist number 4. He is a British trampoline gymnast who is a 5-time British champion, bronze medalist at the 2014 European Games, World Cup gold medalist, and a World Championship medalist. He was the first British male senior trampoline gymnast to win an European medal in the last 32 years. He made groundbreaking news when he came out as bisexual in 2020. Joining with us all the way from Las Vegas, Nevada, is the bomb, my dear friend, Luke Strong. We are humbled and honored to have you here, sir. Luke, can you hear me? I hope you're here.
Hello, yes, I can hear you.
Okay, Luke, would you mind turning your camera on if you don't mind?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how to. 1 second. Here we go.
Yeah, sure.
Hi.
Okay, can Dylan please spotlight? Okay, Luke, thank you so much for joining all the way from Las Vegas, Nevada. So guys, he's in vacation right now, and he took this time out of his vacation just for me, just for the event, just for the sake of the people of Sri Lanka, just to support the LGBTQ community of Sri Lanka. And there's an Outsport article regarding him for helping the community of Sri Lanka. So yeah, Luke, being a world star, a world-renowned star, everybody knows you. The whole world knows you. So you came out as bisexual in 2020, and that's when you came out publicly. So Luke, can you tell us your story, your life story from your childhood, the issues you have faced, how you have failed in the international level, I mean in Britain, because you must know that Sri Lanka was a colony of Britain, and we still follow the British rules which criminalizes LGBTQ in Sri Lanka. So can you give us a perspective of how you have felt being bisexual, being this person who you are?
Yeah, so when I was younger, like, I don't know, I guess I just considered myself like everybody else, a normal kid. And it was when I started going into high school. So I think I was 11 years old, and I remember going to school, and that was the first time that I think I ever experienced homophobia. So I think because I did gymnastics and people perceived it as a girls' sport, that's where kind of the abuse started, and I'd get called names, and people would like try to attack me in school and things like that. And that's kind of when it got difficult. And for me, I never knew why, because at that time, like, I was so young, so I didn't even know that I was attracted to men or anything like that, or part of the LGBTQ community. So for like a bunch of years, it was really rough, and it was difficult to kind of come to terms with who I was, because everybody was saying like, oh, you're gay, you're a faggot, like things like that. And I didn't feel any different, and it was hard. And then when I turned 16, I started to question my own sexuality, I guess. And thankfully, my coach is also a gay man. So he, I think, could see that I was struggling with my identity and who I was, and he reached out and kind of asked the question. And that's the first time I think that I ever kind of accepted that, like, I guess I liked guys and things like that. So in 2010, I came out as gay, dated guys, like did all of that, like kind of experimented. And then it was kind of when I became comfortable with myself, I realized that I was attracted to both sexes. And yeah, so that's kind of how it happened. So I came out to like friends, family, and teammates in like 2010. And then, like you said earlier, it wasn't until 2020 when like a reporter kind of asked the question, and nobody had ever asked me before. And I never thought that it was a big deal because I am who I am. I didn't choose to be this way, and I'm never going to apologize for that. So he kind of asked the question, and that was when I decided to just be honest. And then I didn't ever expect it to kind of blow up and for people to care so much, because I don't know, for me, I'm just myself.
Very true, very true. So, look, you are a star trampoline gymnast. You are well famous. You have won so much medals, and you possibly have gone for Olympics as well. But your injury made you retire. So, before and after you came out in the world of sports, how were you treated before, and how are you treated now?
Yeah, this is a weird one actually, and probably backwards to what people think. Before I came out, people kind of were much worse to me. Like I'd get a lot more gay jokes, and it's almost like when people maybe suspect that you are gay, then they kind of like abuse you and like push you into like admitting it and things like that. But since I've came out, I I've been kind of lucky that in my day-to-day life I don't experience any abuse, and the people around me are very supportive and accepting. The only time that I'll maybe get abuse is from people on the internet who don't actually know me. And I don't even think it's abuse because they're even homophobic. I think it just is attention seeking for some people. They know that some people will get a rise from that, but from me, you're never going to get a rise being homophobic online. But yeah, so I consider myself very lucky to grow up in Great Britain. Like, it's not perfect and there still is a long way to go, but considered to a lot of other countries, like, it's legal to be who I am and never am I going to be criminalized for it or locked up. But yeah, there still is a lot of people in the community in Great Britain that still face hate crimes and even are murdered for being who they are, which is just horrendous.
Very true, Luke. So, Luke, there's Sri Lanka is still criminalizes the LGBTQ community. That's basically because of laws from the Britain. So, does Britain have a Pride Day, and like what happens on the Pride days, and why is Pride Day important as per your perspective?
Yeah, that obviously still makes me very sad that Sri Lanka still follows old rules that Britain put in place, because Britain now as a country has evolved and we've moved on. And like I said, it's completely legal to be like gay, lesbian, trans over here, and you can be married, you can adopt children, like you can do pretty much everything now that straight people can do. So yeah, so that's really sad. Sorry, I've lost my trail of thought. Forgot the question that you asked now, sorry.
I mean, what do you think? Why do you think the Pride Day is important as per your perspective?
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, obviously Pride is so important because, like I said earlier, like Britain obviously is fine to be gay now, I guess, but like I said, people are still being attacked and hate crimed and murdered like every day, every year. So I think it's important for the communities to come together and to, I don't know, fight for change for other people who are less fortunate. And it allows a day for the community to all come together and realize that you're not alone and that there are other people like you and other people who are willing to fight for you as well. So I think that's massively important.
Yes, very true. So, being when you came out, like how I think I asked a question earlier. So, what do you think the Sri Lankans have to do so that their brothers, sisters, and friends even can come out? Because there's a big stigma here in Sri Lanka that every person is very scared to come out, they're being criminalized and being rejected. So, as a star athlete who came out very recent for the public. So why do you think that what should these people do for the people to be more free to express who they are?
Yeah, it's very difficult, of course, because like you said, like it is criminalized, and I think people can get outcast and their families can abandon them and things like that. So it's extremely difficult. But so I can't even imagine how difficult that is to even comment on it. But I guess the more people who kind of band together and are comfortable with who they are and stand up to make a difference, I think that's important. And it only takes one person to come out and make a stand for other people to follow and be more comfortable with who they are. And it's not going to happen overnight, of course, but hopefully over the next few months, years, like in Sri Lanka, the stigma will decrease and people will be comfortable to be who they are. And then it'll just be like a ball rolling down the hill. It'll just catch momentum and everybody will realize, oh, like it's normal. Like there's people around me who are part of the community and we're all great people, of course. Like we're not just monsters.
Very true, very true. So to end up your session, what is your message? Like, what do you have to tell to the people of Sri Lanka? Like you to use your power. So what are your next plans as well in the field of sports and for helping the LGBT community?
Yeah, I guess just my message for everyone is that you're not alone. Like you may be alone there in Sri Lanka because you don't have anybody to turn to or to share your story, but just know that there is millions and millions of people just like you who are fighting for you and who just want to exist in peace. Like nobody should ever have to live in fear or not be themselves. So I think for me, just take your time if that's what you need. But I think take confidence in knowing that you're not alone and that there is a huge family behind you for when you are ready. And whenever you are ready to come out, like everybody here will embrace you with open arms and be happy for you, even if the people around you are not.
Okay, Luke, thank you so much for your valuable time, Luke. Okay, so you guys must know that I texted Luke saying that, Luke, I'm just doing this kind of program. I want you in. But Luke is really not a type of person who speaks very much, but just because he says that, Akshan, yeah, I want to help the people of Sri Lanka. I want to do this for them. I want to do this for the LGBTQ community. Here he is. So we can entertain one question from Luke Strong, the star trampoline gymnast. If anyone is willing to ask any question from Luke, please go ahead. Anyone? Okay, seeing there is none, let's end Luke's session. Can we turn your cameras on for a screen capture with Luke? Everyone who is it is possible. People who can turn your cameras on for a screen capture with Luke. Okay. Adilaka, can you get that? Okay. Is it done? Okay. Thank you so much once again, Luke, for joining us. Thank you so much for doing this for the community of the LGBT community of Sri Lanka. And yeah, thank you so much. And our secretary will be thanking you officially at the end. But since you are leaving now, I really want to thank you for taking your time out of your vacation to join us all the way from Las Vegas, Nevada. And so yeah, thank you so much, Luke. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Okay, thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Okay, so we have come to the end of the session, of our panelist session. So I really hope everyone got an idea about the LGBTQ community. So which is the basic motive of our session today, of our webinar today. So the project Ecole when translated to English means the same blood. So our motive was to show that the LGBTQ community, the people belonging to the LGBTQ community, is the same blood as you, me, and the others. So the problem we identified as a club was that the major factor contributing to the LGBTQ discrimination in Sri Lanka is that the lack of education about the community. The lack of education leads to discrimination. So to fill that void, we, the Rotaract Club of Ratnapura, in collaboration with the Rotaract Club of Madras, we brought up this session. So I really hope we made this session a successful one. We had 100+ participants joining us from all around the world, and and the next year we will be doing a phase 2 of this session, hopefully. And I really wanted to thank personally for the Rotaract Club of Madras, Raj, Mona, and Samyukta for the wonderful work they did. And for the official vote of thanks, I cordially invite the Secretary of the Rotaract Club of Ratnapura, Rotaractor, Shalini Galapatti. The screen is yours.
Hello everyone, am I audible?
Yeah, sure, Shalini, go.
Okay. A very good evening to everyone. It gives me an immense pleasure to deliver the vote of thanks for this event on behalf of the organizing committee. My heart fills with a lot of gratitude and respect for our distinguished guest speakers for not only sparing their valuable time for us to grace this occasion, but also for enlightening us with their commendable talk on the subject. First and foremost, I would like to thank our panelists. Mr. Arita Wickramasinghe, I am really grateful for your speech and also for your thoughts you shared with us today. Mr. Tushar Tyagi, your presence made our event more colorful. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. Ms. Bhumi Harendran, a known voice in Sri Lanka's human rights movement, calling for the rights of the LGBTQ community. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences and thoughts with us today. Mr. Luke Strong, thank you so much for connecting with us all the way from Las Vegas to share your thoughts and experiences with us. And thank you everyone for showing and making the event even more awesome. Next, I would like to thank our own DRR, District Rotaract Representative, Rotarian Rotaractor, Past President, Akila Adishwar Vijaythunka. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join with us today. Next, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to Honorable General Rotarian, Past DRR, Shivkumar Ishwaran for joining with us today. Your presence made our event more colorful. And also, I should especially mention outsports.com for the media coverage they have given us. Outsports is a sports news website focusing on LGBT issues and personalities in professional sports. I would like to appreciate them for the support they have given in the media coverage for this event. Next, I would like to thank our Rotary Secretary and our Charter Club President, Rotarian Rotaractor, Paul Harris Fellow, Virajit Lakshita. And also, I make this a chance to thank our partner club, Rotaract Club of Madras, including President Rajkumar, Secretary Manjari, and the entire team for the support they have given us. Thank you so much, guys. Last but not least, I thank my fellow directors and members of our club. Thank you so much for the cooperation given in this in making this function a resounding success. I should especially mention our president, Rotarian Rotaractor Dilanka Sanjaya, and our assistant secretary, Rotaractor Ashan Dharmasiri, the project chair of this session. And also I should mention our IT team, including Rotaractor Shivan Salankalpa, for coming up with some beautiful flyers for the session. I sincerely apologize if I have missed out on somebody. And I would like to end my speech with this quote. Being yourself is never the wrong thing to do. So thank you once again, everyone. Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shalini Akka, for the wonderful speech, and thank you so much. And I really want to personally thank Rotarian Rotaract Dilanka Sanjay, the president, the secretary Shalini Galapatti, for the tremendous support they have given me as the project chairperson, and Rotaract Raj, Rotaract Bona, Rotaract Samyukta, always texting me via WhatsApp to ask me, Ashan, what could I do for the project? What could I do for this? What could I do for that? Thank you so much, everyone. And so, at last but not the least, what we must know is that everyone, irrespective of your race, gender, sex, color, we are the same blood, which is the motive of today's webinar. So we must know, okay, so this is like a virus. Once you change yourself, once you start to stop discriminating your gay friend, for an example, this another person looks at you, he learns. So this virus passed from you to her, him. He stopped discrimination, and then he to her, they stop discrimination. This is like a tree diagram. The tree, we can, as a society, as a 2021 society, we can definitely end the stigma in Sri Lanka with the force, with the power, with the force recognizing the support, the allyship for the LGBTQ community of Sri Lanka. We can pressurize the government, we can pressurize the parliament to reform laws in Sri Lanka to stop the criminalization of Sri Lanka LGBTQ people. So let's keep this in mind as the famous quote by Rotaract Shalini Galapatti. We are the same, we are the same blood. Thank you so much for joining today. I am Rotaract Ashan Dharmasiri, the Assistant Secretary of the Rotaract Club of Ratnapura, your moderator for today, and the project chairperson of ECALE. Signing off, good night and take care. Also, I have to mention that there's a special form in the chat box section of the Zoom to fill in your name and your credentials or your things to get an e-certificate signed by 2 of our celebrities. Please fill that, and also please note that there's another form for the feedback. Please do leave a feedback about how the session was, how can we improve this kind of session, and if you want another session in the future. Thank you so much, and I'm signing off. Thank you.